That folk music that you play there, what is that? How do you call that folk music?
I think it was Studs Terkel who asked Big Bill Brunzi, did he consider his blues music to be folk music? And Big Bill says, well, never heard no horses.
Don't hesitate. It could be your ticket to a new tomorrow.
Awesome. The show is Horses Sing None of It, and I'm Sandy Riley, sitting in for Ralph Litwin. Tonight we have Chris Lamb, John Lamb, Liz Cabrera, and Andy Koenig, and they are all together the Eclectic Consort. And eclectic they certainly are. Yeah. Tell me a little bit about that piece that you've done and where it comes from. And
well, we actually opened with a traditional Irish set of tunes, so that wasn't overly eclectic, but it was Banished Misfortune and Gravel Walk. But our next tune is a little bit different. It has a little twist to it, so maybe Andy can tell us about it since he arranged it.
some of these traditional tunes are kind of inefficient. They have more notes than they need. And so I took a traditional tune called St. Anne's Reel and I removed some of the excess notes. And what's left is called St. Anne's Ree.
We dare you to try to dance to this one.
Andy, I see what you mean. Those notes certainly were not necessary. It makes it quite much more interesting this way.
Normally there's like 8 little beats in a measure, and he shortchanged each measure by 1 beat.
So each measure, yeah, it goes down to 7.
Not to mention he doesn't give me a place to breathe. But
That's a mark of respect.
thank you.
All right, well, next we'll do something that we call a social disaster song. There are lots of these of various sorts, but this one is sort of the archetype of them all. It's called Finnegan's Wake, about Tim Finnegan. Tim Finnegan lived in Walker Street, a gentleman Irishman mighty odd. He had a brogue both rich and sweet, and a rise in the world he carried odd. Tim had a sort of a tippling way, with a love of a whiskey he was born. To help him on with his work each day, he'd a drop of the crater every morn. Whack for the day, come dance to your partner, well, the floor your trotters shake. Wasn't it the truth that told you lots of fun at Finnegan's Wake? One morning Tim was feeling full, his head was heavy which made him shake. He fell from the ladder and broke his skull, and they carried him home his corpse to wake. They rolled him up in a nice clean sheet and laid him out upon the bed. A gallon of whiskey at his feet and a barrel of porter at his head. Whack for the day, come dance to your partner, well, the floor your trotters shake. Wasn't it the truth that told you lots of fun at Finnegan's Wake? His friends assembled at the wake, and Mrs. Finnegan called for lunch. First they brought in tea and cake, then pipes, tobacco and whiskey punch. Biddy O'Brien began to bawl, such a nice clean corpse did you ever see? Oh, Tim of Ornan, why did you die? And I hold your gob, says Paddy McGee. Whack Foladay, come dance to your partner, well, the floor your trotters shake. Wasn't it the truth that told you lots of fun at Finnegan's Wake? Then Maggie O'Connor took up the job. Oh, Biddy, says she, you're wrong, I'm sure. Biddy, she gave her a belt on the gob and left her sprawling on the floor. Then the war did soon engage, 'twas woman to woman and man to man. Shillelagh law was all the rage, a row and erection soon began. Whack Foladay, come dance to your partner, well, the floor your trotters shake. Wasn't it the truth that told you lots of fun at Finnegan's Wake? Then Mickey Maloney ducked his head when a noggin of whiskey flew at him. It missed and fallen on the bed. The liquor scatters over Tim. The corpse revives, see how he raises. Timothy rising from the dead. Says twirl your whiskey around like blazes. Come on, do you think I'm dead? Whack Foladay, come dance to your partner, well, the floor your trotters shake. Wasn't it the truth that told you lots of fun at Finnegan's Wake? That holiday, you dance to your partner, well, the floor your trotters shake. Wasn't it the truth that told you lots of fun at Finnegan's Wake? Finnegan's Wake.
Ah, the story of a right proper Irish funeral.
Yes.
He actually got to attend his own, eh?
Yeah.
That's
At
a
least
good
once.
trick. At least once. Okay, I'm almost afraid to ask.
Well, Eddie also wrote this one, Cerulean Blues.
So it's a sort of typical blues progression, and the title comes from the fact that I wrote it in the seat of an airliner at 37,000 feet on the way to a conference and couldn't think of a title and looked out at this pristine blue sky and said, okay, I've got a title.
The thing I like about it is that it's a blues piece, but it was written with recorder in mind, and most people think of recorder as, I don't know, a school instrument sometimes, but it's an instrument in its own right, and it can play all sorts of things, including jazz, so we figured it'd be a good piece.
Nicely done. Okay, you made a believer out of me. Yeah, you can use the recorder to play the blues. I never would have. Nice, very nice. You never would have convinced me if I wasn't actually here. Now you know too. You can play the blues with a recorder. Okay, what else do you have for me?
Well, we originally started as an early music group and sort of branched out. And so we decided that we would try to do a shall we say, postmodern art wacko treatment of some very early melodies. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Together, I guess we started in 1983, believe it or not, and I remember some marathon rehearsals or practice sessions where we'd start out pretty straight with early music, and as the day progressed, we just experiment around and do all sorts of different things. This is before we figured out a name for the group, and we ultimately ended up with Eclectic Consort, and this piece might help show why. John, do you want to introduce the Gemshorn?
Well, okay, this is the soprano of the family. They come in larger sizes. This is usually about the smallest one you would use. And this particular one is made of a cow's horn, although it's called a Gemshorn because the original ones were made of the horn of an animal called a Gemsbach.
Okay, so we have a traditional Sephardic song paired with a cantiga to Santa Maria, a song to Saint Mary. So interesting coupling, but go ahead. Yes.
what won't you play? No, wait. Now, don't answer that. Tell me what you did play.
Well, do you want to talk about the WX5 a little bit?
This is actually not an instrument, it's a controller. It's a MIDI controller, it's called a Yamaha WX5. You blow into it, you play it, and it puts out electronic signals that are converted into sound by those little boxes on the floor over there. And those are also made by Yamaha, but programmed by a guy in Ohio named Matt Traum, who specializes in that kind of stuff. And you get, has all these weird sounds. That particular one was called Dungeon. That's
Okay.
kind of interesting. It's a marvelously expressive instrument and a tremendous amount of fun to play, and I can make it sound like all kinds of different wind instruments and
And other
just really
things.
enjoyed- and other things. I've really enjoyed playing it. Okay, so now we're going to take on Bach.
Yes, but
I'll bet you never knew that Bach wrote a piece for guitar and penny whistle.
That wasn't one of the things that I had actually considered, but now that I've seen almost everything, show me everything.
Yeah, what I did was we took one of the movement of one of Bach's orchestral suites, and I sort of cut it down to size, as it were.
at least
And
the orchestral part. Right.
the orchestral
Playing
part.
the whole
So the
yeah.
two of us will sort of provide the orchestral part, and Chris, incredible virtuoso that she is, will coax notes that you never knew could be played on a penny whistle.
We hope.
And we'll see how it goes. And the bass line that Liz is playing is completely by Bach.
Nice, very nice.
Thank you. Thank you.
Wow, I'm so intrigued by all the stuff that you're doing. You know what? The Gem's horn. Are you going back to that?
No.
Well, we had only planned on the one. You have a question?
I love the tone on that. And,
It's haunting, isn't it?
It's beautiful. I'd like to know where I can get one. I haven't seen one in my local shops.
Well, they're kind of specialty items. You buy them from early music specialists. There are only a couple in this country. There's one in England. Do you remember where we got this one at all, Chris?
The short answer is no.
No. My guess would be we picked it up from someone at the Boston Early Music Festival one year.
I bet you
Yeah.
got it at the Boston Early Music Festival.
You might be able to get them at the Boston Early Music Shop
That's-
or at
Yes.
Lark in the Morning.
Quite,
Sure.
quite interesting. You know what? What's more important, I'm sure that our listeners are going to want to know where they can see you, where they can hear you again. Do we have contact information of where we can
Check
get
the
some
website.
information? Here
are
we go.
accessible
We can
through our
adjust.
boxwoodmusic.com.
Or, yes, foxwolfmusic.com.
There's a link from that website to Eclectic Consort.
Okay, and your
Your
email address is
appearing on the
Chris
screen at
Lamb.
this moment, yes.
And
At
all of us
AOL.com.
are in multiple groups
Right.
with playing with different people and playing different kinds of music, and so I mean it's not that we the four of us are not a standing group that plays the same stuff all the time. In fact, we almost always play different stuff. So.
Actually, when we change the repertoire and stick to early instruments, we're the early music players.
Right,
And add Joanna,
Yes.
sometimes.
Yes.
sometimes.
Yes.
So you're fairly eclectic.
Yeah.
And changed the name
Relentlessly.
again to Rosetta, and we play Irish music.
Yes.
Lizzie added.
Okay.
Okay.
In 1741, Bach published a monumental keyboard work called the Goldberg Variations, and we are going to play for you the theme from that and one of the variations that we've transcribed for this group of instruments.
This has been so fun and so interesting. I can't believe we only have about 3 minutes left.
Okay, well, in that case, yes, it's traditional to end a musical set with a waltz. So I took the chord progression from the Goldberg Variations and wrote a waltz based on it, which I therefore call the Gold Mountain Waltz. And let me I just have to put my
And
claws
thank you
on
for
here.
inviting us to be
Oh,
on the
yes.
show.
Well, actually, I'm actually the fortunate one. Ralph was a little ill today, so
Sorry to hear that.
I'm very happy to be able to sit in for him. He'll be
We're
back
happy to
next
have you
time.
too, yes.
Thank you so much.
And the large
It's truly been
instruments
my
that-
pleasure.
The large instruments that John and I have been playing here are also recorders. They come in all sizes.
These are various forms of flutes.
That's what happens when you leave them alone, eh?
Yeah, they
Yeah.
multiply.
Yep. Just give him a dark closet.
Okay, the Gold Mountain Waltz by Andy Koenig.